What up? Danielaugustin here. Another episode of Multi-Hyphenate. Tonight I want to talk about California and how California is, not allegedly, but it is absolutely the capital of filmmaking. But what is the state of filmmaking? I moved out here in California in December of 2020. We're now in 2025. Today in particular is January 8th. Well, right now it's January 8th. I'm recording this at about 1:50 in the morning. I tend to do a lot of work in the AM. And on the 7th, a fire started to spread all across the Palisades, and it's spreading all across California, all across Los Angeles, I should say. I actually just downloaded an app called Watch Duty. And I want to go ahead and just say, if you live in Los Angeles, I'm going to suggest you download this app so you know where the fire is. I didn't pay much attention to this morning. I just saw that it wasn't that close to my family, and I had a lot of other things going on today. I had an audition and things I was working on here at home, and jumped on the news and I saw that it's actually spreading. So I started to reach out to some people, some contacts, my reps, check on them, see if they're all right. So hopefully I hear from them in the morning, later on today in the morning. I didn't want to start off all grim and whatnot, but I started with that to say, I had a conversation with somebody the other day and they were asking me whether or not moving to California was worth it. I'm going to say like this. There are quite a few things that happened yesterday/today that are on my mind, and that's one of the main things. Moving to California is an investment, and it does not come without risk. But like it's been said, no risk, no reward. If you're going to come out here, you're going to have to be wise about it. Because I don't think you really can just come out here simply because you got the dream mindset. You got to come out here with a plan. So like this, right? You can't just come out to California and think that you're going to just book a job that's going to change your life. I think that should be the thing that gets you to start thinking about California, the fact that you want that to happen. And I understand cost of living is very important. A lot of people don't think about that when they come to Los Angeles. And one of the things that I suggest for people anytime that they're talking about coming to Los Angeles is don't try to come out here just because of how crazy you are about the film industry. Come out here and be crazy about your lifestyle. Figure that out. You really got to get that down pat because you're going to be living in a location more than you're going to be working. You need to get your career started wherever you are. Wherever you are located, you can go on websites like sites like Actors Access. You can go on and you can find opportunities wherever you live, really, or very close to where you live. And you can start finding roles that suit you, that you can submit for, and you can begin building your resume. Before I moved to California, I must have put in about a good 4 to 5 years in South Florida and in Atlanta. But one of the reasons why I say you can't really just come out here and just get your career just booming and just going is because the film industry is actually a gig economy. It's not really built for you to just work. I have that mindset and I absolutely believe it's possible. The only way I think it's going to work though is you're going to have the kind of team that you can communicate your goals to and have your goals be met by your team day in and day out. When I was at 3 Arts, I communicated with the people who was representing me that I want to be working 9 months out the year. That's my goal. That's what's going to make me ultimately feel like a professional. Not working on that one show and making a ton of money. That's dope. But being able to work again, being able to do another thing, being able to do another thing that year. And if possible, another thing that year. Because it's that kind of consistency that I believe is necessary for you to be able to sustain as a professional, especially when you're kind of just getting started. This is my 10th or 11th year right now in my career as an actor. And ultimately, I believe that that's what I would need personally, because I'm not like Denzel Washington. I don't have one movie that's going to sustain me and my family throughout this entire year. That's not what's happening in my career right now. So when I say gig economy, I mean to say you're liable to come out here with your big old dream and maybe book a co-star. Maybe you'll book a guest star. Maybe you'll book a series regular, but none of that is guaranteed. And if you do book a co-star, guest star, series regular, or film, or commercial, who's to say you're going to book anything else? Who's to say that when you do book that co-star, guest star, series regular, or commercial, who's to say that it doesn't land in a spot on TV or on streaming that's not that suitable for you? Because there are different rates If you book a commercial, there was a time where you'd book a commercial and you're kind of just guaranteed a certain amount of money, but there are variations. When I was in South Florida and I was booking commercials, it ended up being more about experience than it ended up being about financial gain, because a ton of the commercials there are non-union. So while I was working on a commercial that was going to pay me $500 for the day, and that was it. I was never going to be paid again. And people would tell me they just saw me on this commercial. I remember there's a commercial I booked for Miami Herald and I got paid $500. They were running it for about a good 2-3 years. Had it been a commercial that was SAG, I mean, I probably would have been paid at least $20,000, $30,000 at the least. So when I talk about gig economy, I'm talking about the fact that you can't come here depending on this job. This is not a regular 9-to-5. There's a big difference between a 9-to-5 and this work. You can still treat this like a 9-to-5, which I suggest. If you come here and you're an actor and you're not necessarily working on a show, you can still do the work. You got to get creative, but there's a ton of stuff you can do. Reading scripts. That's something that I would just sit around and still do. We'll sit around and pull that script offline. If it's an award-winning script or just a script from a movie from the past that I love, and I just want to see how their dialogue was formulated. I want to see the choices that that actor made in that film versus what was on the page. That's a way to study. That's a way to work. That's a way to have this career feel like a 9-to-5, but ultimately you're not going to get paid for it. So gig economy. You have to have that in mind. And part of the reason why I bring that up is because actors tend to be embarrassed when they're not necessarily making the kind of money that they envision themselves making or that they need to make so that they can really just make their rent. Ultimately, being an actor feels a lot like having a 9-to-5. Truth be told, I don't really care how much money you made on whatever job you had. When I had a 9-to-5, I learned that the job can just as easily stand for, and more often than not, stands for just over broke. They're going to pay you just enough. You're going to have to come back. They're not going to pay you that much after those 2 weeks. I don't care how much overtime you put in. And if you did put in a bunch of overtime, you got less sleep, you got less rest for your body. And when you do come back in, you'll feel a lot weaker. That money's gone anyways. It's going somewhere anyways. So ultimately, when it comes down to being an actor, and let's say you booked that guest star and you got $10,000. Oh, nice. It was a recurring guest star? That's what's up. $60,000. And you worked on that show for 3 weeks. What happens if you're not booking another job anytime soon? And you just made $60,000. That $60,000 will last you just so long for you to be able to pay just enough rent. And you don't know what's going to happen along the way. You really don't know. You can't necessarily call it. You can't really predict what's going to happen. The engine in my car just blew. I literally just replaced it like 4-5 years ago. I think it was 5 years ago. I just replaced that engine. It just blew just the other day. Engine literally smoking. It happened on New Year's, like a day or two before New Year's. So that car is right now in the shop. It's getting fixed. It's costing me $4,500. I didn't have any intentions on that money going to anything else but the rent and what we need here at home for our baby, for us, for food, etc. Now what? In this gig economy, now what? An article dropped yesterday. It was essentially Scarlett Johansson. And in the article, it mentioned that Scarlett Johansson is going to be a guest co-host on Today with Jenna and Friends for a week later this month. In the article, it talks about how she's going to show up for, I think, 3 or 4 days to guest co-host on this show. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, wow, she's like switching it up. She's about to be a co-host just in general. Like she's about to do this kind of work. And they're also going to have a couple other people on there. Kiki Palmer. I think Taraji P. Henson is also going to be on there. So one thought I had in mind was I wouldn't be surprised if all of these women who are going to be on this show that week or the few weeks that they're going to show up, if they all have a film coming up soon. Because actors tend to line their appearances up with the work that they have coming out soon. So I wouldn't be surprised if after she does this, a week, 2-3 weeks later, we see she got a movie coming out on Netflix or something. But the first comment, I went ahead and read it because I had the thought that, is she trying to switch it up and go to daytime and do this kind of work? First comment said, did she already burn through her superhero money? Second comment said, very weird career move. This is the kind of issue that I think a lot of actors tend to face when they're doing this work, is a lot of people shame them for any other kind of decision that they make or need to make. They're often shamed for working at some store where you don't expect to see them, because actors tend to always come off as larger than life characters who you don't ever see. They show up in limousines and helicopters, and they famous as hell. They're him, they're her, they're them. Their red carpet lifestyle. Okay, when they pull up on the red carpet, they're wearing something you never seen in a store before. So they have this ethereal energy about them, but ultimately they're just people. And if they don't move your feet, then they don't eat. So we all like neck to neck, check to check. And so when I see this article, it's a shame that these people commented what they commented, but ultimately, even if she does have some PR thing coming up soon, she's not doing this for free. July 2021, she filed a lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company. And she filed that lawsuit because of where the industry is pivoting now. The industry is pivoting in a way where they no longer do things just the same way that they used to do them 10 years ago, 20 years ago, where you get this big theatrical release. It runs in the theaters for a certain amount of time. And then finally, after, say, the 3 months, however long that they had it licensed for that theater, okay, cool, we can take it to TV now. And now it can officially make the money that it'll make on TV. And then that'll be extra. But this is the theater run, this is the TV run, so on and so forth. And then we'll keep pushing that license out as much as we need to. But things have changed. Things are changing right in front of our eyes, and they're evolving constantly. And interestingly enough, they say nothing changes, things stay the same, or things always tend to find their way back to the source, which in some way is true, because now you got places like streamers like Netflix and Max and Hulu who tried to not be displaying, portraying, showing any kinds of ads, any kinds of commercials, but now that's back. We need those commercials as performers, because those commercials are essentially how we get paid. So when the streamers start trying to do things for convenience for audience members and fans, it will hurt actors, essentially, because it's the money from Colgate and the money from Head and Shoulders that essentially is what's supposed to pay these actors out. That's what's supposed to keep you from necessarily needing to go back to a 9-to-5 so quickly, per se, or having a 9-to-5, depending on who you are and how consistently you can work. Speaking of this lawsuit, now she sued Walt Disney Company, alleging that the simultaneous release of Black Widow in theaters and on Disney Plus breached her contract, which she claimed guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release. This dual release strategy, according to Johansson, significantly reduced her potential earnings, as her compensation was largely tied to box office performance. So she sued them for about $50 million. And it's alleged that she got about $40 million from the suit as part of a settlement. They didn't actually release that number specifically. But Disney responded, and they tried to actually put out her number to shame her a bit, in my opinion, saying that, she already got paid $20 million for the film. There's a lot of bullying that goes on in this industry. A lot of bullying, and a lot of audience members, the court of public opinion is used against actors. Actors try to use it against the studios as well. That's why they tend to have PR companies, but that costs. So that's a gamble to have those PR companies. But Disney releasing information saying, listen, we paid her $20 million, y'all, sounds like crazy. It sounds like, what the hell she arguing about? What's she tripping for? $20 million, girl, you need a vibe. But I talked about this in my video before. $20 million, okay, that's about $8 million. She could hang on to about $8 million from a film that took her about a year to film. Still sounds great. But listen, trust me, it's not. It's not as good as it looks. It's not as good as it sounds, especially when you consider the fact that there's a bunch of fire just spinning around the city. I don't know if you can hear it via this microphone because I'm in an enclosed area right now, but it's been windy as hell all day. The wind is just rustling the fire all through Los Angeles. I don't think Scarlett lives in Los Angeles. She probably lives in New York because her husband works on SNL and that he works Monday through Friday. But that 8 million shrinks when you have something random like this fire. It shrinks when you have something random like an engine blowing out of your car. Things that you cannot necessarily prepare for. The fact that this is a gig economy affects performers in more ways than just, you gotta wait your turn, you gotta keep grinding. And let me explain, let me go deeper with that. Because it's a gig economy, when you come out here, you probably need to find the kind of work that you can do where you can call out. But you need to find work because you can't really just come here expecting that you're just going to book. You got to have some kind of side hustle. And honestly, in my opinion, you got to have 2 to 3, especially right now in this day and age, something that my wife and I talk about a lot. Actors, filmmakers in general have to have a mindset of radical reinvention. Whether that be you doing hair, because you good with the hair braiding, whether that be you're an editor like I am, whether that be I film, I'm a director, I can shoot, whether that be you got a camera and you're a really great photographer or you can take great photos, so you're a photographer, great side hustle. Now you shooting people's weddings and so on and so forth. That's something I did in South Florida and something I still try to do now. I fill out applications like crazy. I have been filling out applications like crazy. I'll tell you, one of the mistakes that I do believe that I made is in 2023, 2024, 2022, when I was working on rap shit, when I was working on How I Met Your Father. I worked on rap shit for 3 to 4 months out the year, maybe 1 to 2 days a week. After these shows, essentially, you have so much free time. I should have went and got a job. I should have gotten a 9 to 5 so that I could have kept a regular source of income coming in. Not just the big lump sums. The big lump sums are fantastic, but I need to be able, and you as performers, as actors, you're entrepreneurs. That's the truth. You're not just some dreamer. You're an entrepreneur. You're the CEO of your name incorporated. Whether or not you go and get the S Corp, whether or not you go and get the LLC to make it real. But the gig economy money needs to feel like side hustle money. I don't care how much money it is. It needs to feel like side hustle money. And there just needs to be something else that's coming in on the regular. Scarlett Johansson pulling up on that show for 3 to 4 days. You think she really about to pull up on that show for 3 to 4 days in a row for free? Hell no. She pulling up on that show, maybe because there's a movie on the back end coming. And that still just means that she's getting that money ready to come in as heavy as possible. So she's trying to get in front of her audience, women, essentially, daytime women. But the money you make from your side hustle, from your co-star, your guest star, needs to feel like your side hustle money all the while. As soon as that's done, Monday through Friday, you go back to work. And hopefully it's the kind of job you can call out because, like I said, the industry can bully you a bit. I went into an audition today. Audition was at 12:15, but I was told that I was going to go to that audition the day before I was told. I confirmed that I would go in, but they don't ask you, is this okay? They let you know that this is the time you're coming in for this audition. Are you coming or not? So now if I say no, I miss out on the opportunity to potentially book a huge gig, a huge brand. I miss out. Car not working. So now just to get there today cost me $63 on a Lyft ride to get there, 60 some odd dollars to get back, about 120 some odd dollars in total. If I hear back from them, I'll hear back from them for a callback. And I got to go back in on the 9th, which means I'll be going back in before my car's fixed. So it's another 120. Who knows if I'll actually book it? So it's constantly an investment you're making. Every single time out, you're making another investment. That's nothing that people really talk to you about in an acting class. They're not talking about the investment. People just suck you in by telling you things like, to book the role, you got to be believable. To book the role, you got to be a real person. And then, yes, you do have to have certain skills for on camera, certain skills that just are things you learn along the way. Through your 10 plus year career, you start to learn these things year in and year out. But ultimately, to book the role, you're going to have to invest in it every single time. You're going to have to drive there. Let's say I wasn't taking a Lyft. I still would have to pay for gas. And the gas, it cost me $70 just to fill up the tank anyways. So if somebody like Scarlett Johansson is going to work this gig for a week, she'll supplement some income, make money right quick. Let's say there's not a movie on the back end. Then I know for sure she's getting paid to do this. And we'll probably just try to do it in a way that's classy, in a way that doesn't look thirsty. But it's still important for her to do this. There absolutely will be times in your career, I don't care who you are, where you're going to go through famine. Your career is going to feel like it's on E. It's on life support. Because sometimes the industry is on life support. The industry is pivoting right now and moving towards this subscription model. And with this subscription model, it's changing everything. I want to talk about best strategies for actors. Just took some notes, so let me just run them down. One, you need to learn how to diversify income streams. Actors should balance traditional acting roles with new revenue opportunities like brand deals, voice acting, or streaming. Something that I've gotten myself into ever since the time where I was. This is one thing that I did do well. I just haven't necessarily converted on them yet, but I've already started to plant the seeds. I got into voice acting. Here he is now, dribbling down the lane between two defenders. Oh my! Another bucket for Danielaugustin with the touch. I went ahead and got my reel and have been applying, been submitting myself. Commercials. I've been submitting myself for commercials. Finding a way to make money in different avenues and not just trying to be this big star. If it's one thing that I have told my reps and one thing that has been important for me to pay attention to, it's that I don't necessarily find myself caring that much for prime time television right now at this time in my career. If that's the next role that I book, dope. But me being on that show that's on Max at 7 p.m. and it's dropping every Thursday, I don't care nothing for that. The show that got 8 episodes, I don't care nothing for that. Pays well, for sure. But honestly, if I had the opportunity to book a show like soap operas, daytime, Monday through Friday, I would absolutely. Days of Our Lives, I would absolutely holla at your boy Monday through Friday. I would absolutely love for that to be the 9 to 5 where I messed around and got 300, 400, 500 episodes in because there's consistency. Yeah, they might try to kill your character off, but you know damn well them soap operas, they'll mess around and bring you right back. Stop playing. Number 2, invest in your skills. Develop a strong social media presence or voice acting skills to tap into emerging markets. Invest in your skills, whatever they are. My wife, she does hair. She writes books, she ghost writes. For me, I record music, I film people, I write as well, I edit, a ton of other things. I'm doing one of my skills now, talking, communicating, talking about skills, talking about my skills, talking about your skills. Sometimes people want to talk to me about their videos, their self-tapes. I have people come over sometimes and I coach them, I film them. It's another revenue stream. 3, leverage union protections. Ensure you're a member of SAG-AFTRA or a similar guild to benefit from residuals and contract protections. It's pretty huge. I tell you right now, I've been working on a claim with SAG over the past year because there was a show in particular that I had that wasn't paying me one of my residuals for one of my episodes. And so I had to work on the claim for over a year. Sometimes SAG can be a little sloppy, it seems like everybody's working from home these days. And so sometimes when you're calling into the office, you can tell ain't nobody trying to do no work, not for real. But I stayed on their ass. And sure enough, started to get my money. And so last year, there was a time where I started to get some residuals. A big check came through a couple times, and it was a life-changing, life-saving check that was very helpful with our scenario and our situation. So number 4, best strategy for actors today, collaborate on indie projects. Partner with filmmakers for profit sharing or festival submissions, which can lead to future work. I'm going to be releasing a vlog soon. I actually just filmed a feature film in Atlanta. Somebody flew me out, offered me a role. One of my first offers, really. Definitely the first offer that I negotiated. I negotiated the deal. I'm really proud of the fact that I negotiated the deal because that's just a step up in my career. It gives me an opportunity to feel a lot more professional, opportunity to really get more so the hang of communicating my worth, my value. And I think I negotiated a pretty fair deal for both sides, really, but also for myself so that I can still walk away with something after taxes, you dig? After transportation, you dig? So those are 4 of the best strategies I think for actors today. Now, as I was talking about with streaming revenue, I think streaming is changing things mightily and making things a lot more difficult for actors to make this work. The fact that a majority of stuff is going on streaming, on Max, on Hulu, Netflix, there's no real transparency with how many people have actually tuned in. A couple more notes that I want to read here. Streaming revenue. Streaming platforms have become a dominant force in the industry, but your earning potential varies due to the changes in compensation structures. So, the opportunities. Got high profile deals. Established actors, they can negotiate lucrative upfront payments for exclusivity or star in projects for platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Apple TV. Chris Hemsworth, he reportedly earned $20 million for Netflix Extraction 2. Ain't nobody about to pay me $20 million right now. Right now, the furthest I've gotten up the scale is 6 figures, mid 6 figures. Lovely, dope. Just below mid 6. Residuals, Residuals are limited in streaming. This is huge. While residuals exist for streaming, they're often lower than traditional TV. Listen, that's huge. This is maybe one of the biggest ones. Multiple projects, Streaming platforms require content volume, providing consistent opportunities for actors. The biggest challenges when it comes to streaming, there's a lack of syndication, residuals, as streaming platforms do not typically resell content. That's where you tend to make your money when it comes to your residuals, is when it gets resold. After their 2-year contract where they licensed it to Stars, then they went and licensed it to Paramount Plus, and that was a brand new deal, and they had to relicense it. You get broke off on that. But when it's on the streamer, they can kind of just keep it there because it's theirs. And then you get lower pay for mid-level and emerging actors compared to network TV. That's your boy right there, mid-level, emerging. All right, here we go. Let's talk about basic cable and network TV. This is where the money is for a lot of performers, for more performers than, say, feature films, because there are just more roles, more shows than there can ever really be more features. So, basic cable and network TV. Traditional TV still provides solid income potential, particularly for actors in recurring or starring roles. Now, opportunities. Residuals. Basic cable and network TV shows often rerun episodes domestically and internationally, generating long-term residual payments. Examples. Cast members of Friends reportedly still earn millions annually from syndication. So I think Friends was NBC, if I'm not mistaken. You could tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. I don't know what else to say about that. That's life-changing money. But it ain't everybody that booked a Friends. You know what I'm saying? Finishing up. Union protection. SAG-AFTRA contract ensures fair wages and benefits for actors in network productions. You got commercial work. Commercial work is completely different on basic cable and network TV than it is on a streamer. When you're on a commercial or on any project, if I book something on, say, All Black or Netflix and it goes on there, it's a flatter rate, it's a flatter fee, and they're not doing all of the as much international stuff. There's a ton of money that comes to you sometimes via international pay. But via commercial work, national commercials on cable or network TV pay substantial residuals based on airtime and reach. You mess around and book a national commercial, it might be enough for you to vibe for the rest of the year, which I'm suggesting you don't do that. I'm suggesting you still go out there, reinvent yourself, get you something. I don't know what it needs to be, but get you something. And now the challenges with basic cable, network TV, there's limited longevity for shows compared to earlier decades and declining viewership as audience migrates to streaming. A ton of shows are getting canceled now after 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I'm going to make another video to talk about that in a bit. So these networks also know that we can't necessarily afford to just have all these shows, whether or not they're hits, whether or not they're misses. We can't necessarily just afford to just let them all string out. We got to be mindful of which ones we allow to string out and why. So if we do have a good show and it works, let's do it for a season or 2. And then maybe we'll try to resell this show. We'll keep a piece of it. We'll resell it to a streamer somewhere. And that way we can still get a piece of it and let somebody else start paying for it. Sometimes that happens, but a lot of times it's 1 and done, 2 and done. I'm not going to keep paying for this. Sorry, y'all. Can't. Every show ain't going to hit like a Succession or White Lotus. They let shows like that continue to run because shows like that are award-winning. Those shows like that are award magnets. So shows like that bring more notoriety to the brand of, say, a Max, House of the Dragon, Dunkin' Egg. They're going to let that run a lot longer. They're going to put a lot more energy into those. And ultimately, because they're putting more energy into those, they can't put it into these other ones. So ton of shows that are just getting their first shot at existence are really here just as a sample size. They're just the entree for you being on the platform. So one of the main reasons why that hurts, this is a whole nother video. I'm just going to mention it real quick. I didn't want to be on here too long. Part of the challenge of this being a gig economy, if you coming out here thinking that you about to just really run off into this career and just do your thing and just be making $150,000 a year, and now you just got your big apartment, and you're going to find out quickly how challenging that is. Because what about health insurance? You have to genuinely make a certain amount of money to even have health insurance. If I'm not mistaken, there's a minimum earnings requirement of about $33,000. I didn't have health insurance until I came to Los Angeles, and it was 2022. So 2021, I had a great year. I booked Grey's Anatomy. I booked Rap Shit. I booked How I Met Your Father. But I still hadn't made the money yet. I was making the money. While you're making the money, you're not actually eligible just yet because you're still making the money. You got to make the money within that 12-year span, and then you can holla at SAG after health and then be like, that's what I just did last year. Cool, you're eligible. And it's still got to be within a certain date. Why am I even talking about all this? I'm talking about all this because everybody ain't Robert Downey Jr. Everybody is not making the kind of deals he's making. And despite the fact that he makes the deals you still see that he is working consistently. You still see that this man is popping up and working at least 1 to 2 movies a year sometimes, or sometimes he'll wait and do the one movie every 2 years. But it'll be a really big movie. He's reportedly making about $80 million and potentially getting $100 million on his next film. Then the second one, it's another $80 million to $100 million. You don't think Scarlett Johansson wanted to make that? She's not as lucky as Robert because Robert was MCU's test guinea pig and he popped off and it worked out really well for them and for him. So they really depend on him. They love him and they invest. This industry is investing in who they believe can help them get on their feet and stay on their feet right now because the industry is hurting. I'm making this video for those creatives, people who are considering moving to Los Angeles, people who are considering moving to New York. It's very challenging. You really should only come out here if, you really got it inside, if you really got the ability to make it last forever, make something out of nothing. You don't always know that your team is going to be on it. Your team, your reps, they could be working with 60 other people. And because they're working with 60 other clients, they kind of just need maybe 20 to 30 of them to pop, and they're good. Are you one of the 20 to 30? Are you one of the 1 to 10%ers out of their 20 to 30 that really popped? And I think we all are looking for stability. We're all looking for an opportunity to feel like I'm doing it. I made it. This is it. I'm living the dream. Wake up. This ain't no dream, man. If you coming out here for the dream, I think there needs to be more of an awareness of the fact that dreams got free falling. Dreams aren't real. Dreams have scenes in them where some parts just don't make sense, and not in a good way. You just falling and you just can't really get on your feet in these dreams sometimes. I believe there needs to be more awareness of what it is you're getting yourself into when you're getting into this career. I'm not telling anybody not to move out here, but I'm going to say if you are moving out here, you got to focus on lifestyle just as much as you focusing on the career, if not more. Where the hell you going to stay when you come out here? What the rent looking like? You got roommates or not? Is somebody helping you, supporting you, paying the rent for you or no? Or is it all on your dime? Because if it's on your dime, that's a completely different scenario than just say, you got your folks paying for you. What's your side hustle? Do you have one? Can you get one? Because you need one. Is it a good one? Is it the kind of side hustle that you can call out and still keep your job? Are you ready to potentially be losing jobs because you just got called into an audition randomly and you kind of need to go into this audition because that's what the hell you came out here for in the first place? Are you ready to do this work and potentially be doing other things as well where people might look at you like, I thought you were Scarlett Johansson and you were making 20 million. Did you burn through that series regular money already? Are you ready to deal with that? Are you ready to be looked at sometimes like you're somebody who is doing it, but then sometimes you look like somebody who isn't? It's going to have to be much more than just a dreamy thing where you came here and it just worked out. Because the majority of people who come here leave, and I don't blame those people either. There's some people who believe that you can totally do this career from other places now and you don't really need to be in Los Angeles. And in some instances, that's true. There are some people who are making it work out in Texas, out in Atlanta. But a lot of those people, the majority of those people, I wouldn't be surprised if all of those people had to come here for at least 1 year, 2 years, 3 years and make it pop before they can leave, before they can really clear it and have it established somewhere else. If anybody's asking me advice on whether or not they should come to Los Angeles, my take is this. You don't necessarily need to move here per se, but you should probably come here for at least a good 3-month period. Plug it into the calendar, come out here and knock out as many auditions as possible. Go into the room as many times as possible for commercials. I know people think that you can just self-tape constantly. Yeah, but you're not always going to be the person that they're going to be asking to come into the room. And sometimes that's why you're not going to get the job. Because I'll tell you this much. When I booked Rap Shit, There's no way I booked that job if I wasn't here in Los Angeles. And if I wasn't here in Los Angeles, let's say I was in Atlanta or South Florida, there's no way it would have ever turned into what it turned into. I never would have been a series regular. It never would have turned into a 6-figure kind of opportunity for me. That's just the truth. Those people got a chance to meet me in the room. They got a chance to see me work in the room. There's a couple magical moments. I can't wait to break down that audition tape and what that whole situation was like. There's a couple magical moments that happened in the room that don't happen if I live somewhere else. Because the only reason I was able to do that job is because I was able to get the audition, sure, and then hear back from them, sure. I did the call back with them via online, sure. But then they asked me to come in, and that's a next day thing. Cool. I come in the next day, and now here I am, and all of a sudden they're asking me to do certain things in the room that you can't do online, that you can't do on Zoom. So Los Angeles isn't really about being here because every single day is popping. It tends to be that one day out of nowhere. You don't really know what day that's going to be. And that's why I say if you're going to come out here, you got to really focus on lifestyle just as much, if not more, than you focus on the career. Just keep in mind that this is the gig economy. This is not necessarily just the wet dream economy. You don't get to just have your wet dream that you have that one night and wake up and this satisfaction just took place. Wake up. Wake up. Because there's plenty of days where it's going to feel like a nightmare. You look online right now, there are fires all throughout Los Angeles. It looks like a nightmare out there right now. I may have to evacuate my family from this location because of the nightmare outside right now. I don't even have my car to evacuate them. How crazy is that? I'm liable to evacuate my family. This career is a side hustle. This is the gig economy. You gotta wake up. If you're gonna come out here or to New York or to any single one of these towns where the dream is all over plastered on every billboard, it's gonna take time. Don't get caught up in the person whose story it just happened for overnight. A lot of people looked at me like when I came out here, it just happened so fast. But I had been doing it for about 10 years when it happened for me. So I don't know that that's fast. It happened fast when I got to Los Angeles, but it dried up fast too. It's the gig economy. That's why I said I wish I would have taken a look at, okay, the strike just hit. I'm not about to sit around here and just wait for this strike to just clear up out of nowhere. I'm over here going to all these strikes and showing up and supporting. Now I'm gonna go get me a 9-to-5, regular 9-to-5, just to make sure that, we got a regular thing coming in, even if it's just a random $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 that I'm getting from this 9-to-5. Let me just go make sure that this, that, and the third is coming in. I didn't do that. That was a mistake. That's something that I shouldn't have done, just from the standpoint of being mature, for being responsible, for being able to look ahead and not get caught up in the now, the opportunity that I have now. I was living in that wet dream. So I hope that whoever's watching, I hope you found some value in this. If you got to this part of the video, I really appreciate you. I would appreciate it 10 times more if you decided to subscribe. You dig?